start?
Yes. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairil mursalin. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, yaqulu Allahu ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. It is not righteousness that you turn your faces toward the east or west, but it is righteousness to believe in Allah and the last day, and the angels, and the book, and the messengers, to spend of your substance out of love for Him, for your kin, for orphans, for the needy, for the wayfarer, and for those who ask, and for the ransom of slaves, to be steadfast in prayer and practice regular charity, to fulfill the contracts which you have made, and to be firm and patient in pain or suffering and adversity and throughout all periods of panic. Such are the people of truth, the God-fearing. Of course, this is one of our favorite passages in the Quran, and it talks about what real faith is, or piety, bir. So it's not righteousness to turn your face to the east or the west, or righteousness is not encapsulated in mainly rituals, but the essence of the ritual, the meaning of the ritual, the contact with the personality and the ultimate reality, who is Allah. That is what righteousness is. Those who believe in Allah in the last day, those who believe in Allah, they believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us, and that Allah is al-Aziz, that He is the accountant, and we will be held accountable for us. It only makes sense if the Creator made us, and He made the whole universe, and He gave us life, and He gave us the risk that we see, all the things that we need for life, and then it would only be reasonable that that Creator, that reality, would hold us responsible for how we used all of those things that was given to us. Okay, and then that you give to different people. It outlines the wayfarer, Ibn Sabil, the Fi'ari Cab, people who are held in bondage. So the charity is for a certain reason, for the beggars, for the slaves, and that you perform the regular salat at its proper time, every day, all the time. And that you give zakat. The zakat means to increase and that it grows. Zakat refers to a plant, it grew and expanded. When you give money away, it don't shrink that wealth, it increases that wealth. A lot of people think, well, if I give something out, then I'm going to have less money. And that's not the way it works. The more you give, some kind of way it comes back to you. Some ways you can recognize and some that you can't. to fulfill your covenants. Any covenant that you make, you fulfill it. And what we're concentrating on today is sabr, and to be patient. That means persevering, steadfastness, and to have this spirit of endurance, to check, to tie, contain, and to have a tenacity to hold on with all possible strength, and to be forbearing, and to have perseverance, and to check, and to tie, and to contain yourself. Basa is adversity, distress, difficulty. So to be patient in adversity and affliction, when all this dara is going around, affliction, suffering, and illness, and distress, right in the thick of fighting, by us you are tranquil. You're not involved in panic and running here and there and losing your focus. That means you become more focused during these periods. And then it goes on to say, and those who speak the truth, and those people are the muttaqin, the God-fearing. So this is a characteristic that we have tried to maintain. The more we read it, the more we want to maintain it. For us, Islam has been a wonderful experience. It's been an experience of continuous growth and evolution and expansion. And there are certain things that we want to do right now. We talked about charter towns the other day, charter towns. You might wonder why are y'all Negroes talking about all that stuff. Well, we've had certain experiences, which we'll get to later. And no matter what other people feel about their life, we have enough time to sit and think about who we are, what we are, how are we interacting with our environment, how's our environment acting with us, you know what I mean? In other words, other people may just jump up and go to work and run around in circles, but we actually think about what's going on. And people who are familiar with our community knows that we've been involved in growth, development, and forecasting for decades. And we won't go into the correctness of it, but this has been a continuous learning experience. That's what it's been. I remember when I went down to Imam Jamil's community, they came out for a program we had in Oakland. In fact, at that time, it was the biggest program they had dealing with the Sunnah. In 1982, it was early up, and it was February, Black History Month, that's right. It was Black History Month, 1982. The poets came out, Imam Jamil came out, and we were introducing East Coast style Islam, the Sunnah, to the West Coast. At that time, it was only 2 Negro Masjid that was what we would call at that time on the Sunnah. In fact, the chief came to our program. He was packed. The old Oakland auditorium was full. People would look upstairs and they would see Iranian Muslims and white Muslims. They couldn't tell them between white folks. And they saw all, students from Berkeley with hijab on. It was really a wonderful program. And, the Negro was looking at, man, they got white Muslims. Just we had a good program. When I went down to Atlanta not long after that, I got my first look at what we had been talking about all the time, community, Jama'ah. And when I went to Atlanta, I looked at the store on the corner. Now remember, this is elementary stuff at that time. Just the fundamentals. 100% Negroid. Imam Jamil had a store on the corner. Right next to him, the brothers had Al-Asa. You know what I mean? Al-Asa, they did incense and oils and all of that. Was it Asa or Fajr?
I think it was Fajr.
Might have been
I
Fajr.
think it was Fajr.
Yeah, the place was called, right next door to Imam Jamil. Okay, that's right. And so, there's a basketball court across the street. There's a little park there. The Masjid was right there. And everybody was living, they was within walking distance of the Masjid. And it snapped. That was our utopia. It's 1983. You know, all you have to do, when you're figuring out how you're going to structure everything, our Masjid was a couple of years old at that. We had been active for a couple of years. Yeah. That picture, I said, that's it. So that settled in. Masjid, school, business, geographical integrity, living close together. I mean, I didn't tell them. Now, something about that community, I said, man, this is it. Everybody saying, As-salamu alaykum, something Imam Jamil told me. He said, they ain't with me. I said, oh. But there was the community. So from then on, I had a picture, a clear picture, how this is going to work. Now remember, this is full-fledged Negroid for the early 80s. We didn't have the black movement going into the 70s. That's dead, and now we're transferred into Islam. And a wholesome, healthy community, almost self-contained. So therefore, I went around with Imam Jamil when he bought supplies for a store, you know, I rode around with him and got to know him pretty well. So we had a picture now. So if you look around here, if you look in Oakland, all of those things, first the Masjid, that's the first thing, the Masjid around the corner. But even the property around the corner, we was setting up for there. But the property next door, which we combined with the Masjid property, the lot down the street that they tried to get us to sell, you know, we was already on expansion community. I mean, from day one, we jumped on that. When we came around here, first of all, they was talking about, we had a flyer, we're going to raise $200,000. People was looking at us like, y'all is crazy, man. That is insanity. We jumped on that, raised that, bought this building. It was just a shell. Well, you remember, it was just a shell. Didn't have none of this inside. In fact, we spent over $300,000 just on the inside of the masjid because there was nothing here. It was nothing. You know, it was just a big church facing the Qibla. And it had been there for years. It was sitting right there on the corner. And we looking for a joint. And I drove by here, I said, we're looking for a joint. to build around the corner. Hey, look at this one. Came in here anyway. Long story, we brought it up. Before you know it, we got this house, and that house down there where I live. They didn't. One person looked at it, and then he looked at it with his wife. And you know how wives look at something, they don't have a vision of what you can do with it. They just look at it like it is. They don't want to touch that. So the people, I found out how much they wanted for it. They said $20,000. I said, I'll give you 15. They say, how about the lot next door? We throw that in for 5,000. Well, I would buy that chair for $5,000. I said, sure, throw it on in. I didn't even check whether I see it's a big ditch you can't build. I thought, but anyway, so what? It's still, it's out. We bought that, hooked it up. We just remodeled everything here. There. And all of a sudden, right when we was getting ready to finish this up, that property came up across the street. I said, we'll buy it. Actually, that lot where that big house is, we had put down on that, but something came up, we had to pull the money off of it. But we could have got through and bought that lot over there. We'd have been better off having it, but there's no sense being greedy. Anyway, here's the point. We have the picture of the community, and that picture came from our Utopian Vision. As soon as we saw it, we knew what we wanted. So I'm not going to concentrate a lot on, as we go to California, visiting cities, but I can say this, we're going to form a corporation, nonprofit corporation. That's why I wanted the brother to be here, to get that, as we start putting ideas together, actually tomorrow, non-profit corporation, getting the papers drawn up. I'm going to get me a card made according to that, and it'll be things like to build into America, something like that, But what's the picture? Man, I did some research yesterday about small towns and what have you. And it's just interesting. Today we'll do some more benefits of small towns and da-da-da-da-da. And we're going to put together a package. And when we go to these small towns, we're going to already have a sales package hooked up. We're going to ask for an hour of the mayor or the city guy's time, whoever has some authority there. Hey, we'd just like to leave this message with you. Here's a card. We're not asking you for nothing. We don't want nothing. But you might want to think about these type of things. If your town has lost population, your tax base is drifting away, and all of your old people are there by themselves, the children went to school and left. Whatever they did, they left the town, and they left all those small towns empty almost. But there are still good homes there, plenty of space, right? The people out here feel they don't have control over nothing. If those people in those small towns draw up a charter, this is what they get, and they sell themselves to the public. They get big glossy flyers, whatever. This is what they have limits. We don't want our town to grow no more than 10 or 15%. Well, so it loses small town character, right? But the people down the street, the other little town around the corner, right? Everybody contact us, we'll send them over to them, right? And they'll have, so they keep their small town character. You know what I mean? If they're gonna grow into a big town, they might as well, if they grow into too big a town, they won't be able to control their taxes as much, right? The government will be in, if it's a small town, they can actually do almost what they want, except for what the state and the federal government. And when the state see their population grown and they're getting a little bit more tax money from that town, the state gonna leave them alone. Only they gotta worry about the federal government. They keep their mouth shut, the feds won't have no. Plus, if you do in your little town, you can almost keep the federal government out. You know what I mean? By your own, with our own little city charters, stage rights, city rights. You know what I mean? It's a utopian vision. What do people want? I don't mean to spend much time on this, but what people want to feel freer. They're tired. There's millions of people in these cities that saying this ain't what life ought to be about. They want a slower, easier going pace. They want to be somewhere where they're recognized. You don't have to be a movie star to be recognized. You know, like in a city, in a town. And people, you know, human contact is the biggest thing. The biggest thing that modern civilization has lost is personal, direct human contact. Where, you know, the people in the South, they speak to each other, hey, what's going on?
Hailing.
Huh?
We call it hailing.
Hailing, yeah, they speak to each other, right? Indiana's the same way, it might well be in the South. Well, it was the biggest state for the Ku Klux Klan, so it might definitely ought to be there, right? But people, I mean, just right there in Virginia, and the farther you go, you really get into Dixie. People act like, hey, how you doing today?
Right.
They don't have to know you to